Hey guys, Journey to Truth is going to Hawaii. Join us in 2026 for Journey to Truth's first ever vacation conference on the Big Island at the beautiful Queen Emma Community Center in Kona. Enjoy Hawaii as we travel to sacred sites and connect with our Lemurian past and reactivate the land. It's time to get our bodies moving and take a boots on the ground approach to the awakening. We'll also be making a trip to Volcano National Park to pay our respect to Pele, the goddess of fire. We'll then journey to the water for an ocean adventure with our multi-dimensional aquatic family. We'll gear up and head to the harbor as we set sail under the sun for an activating day on the water while we experience the Hawaiian ocean life like never before. Enjoy Hawaiian sunsets and walks on the beach while connecting with Soul Family and learning a few things from our amazing lineup of speakers. Aloha! Grab your ticket today at journeytotruth.online and join us for this once-in-a-lifetime activating getaway.
That's no moon. It's a space station.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. A few things before we get started. There are still a few spots left for our Hawaii conference right around the corner on April 20th, the 20th through the 24th on the Big Island. If you're interested in joining us, I would book your ticket ASAP, secure your spot. There are only a few places or spots left, and you can find all that information at journeytotruth.online. And if you can't make it in person, we have virtual passes available for only $55, which is a great deal. All that information is available on our website. And if you have not seen our new Secret Space Program documentary, that is available on our website and our Patreon. It is also on its way to the streaming platforms. Hopefully in a month or two or a few months, whatever, however long it takes, it will be on Amazon Prime and other platforms. So stay tuned for that. And today we are joined by a returning guest, Micah Dank. He was originally on episode 368, which was titled "The Bible and Every Ancient Holy Text Are Encoded Astrology Books," and it was an excellent presentation. He had a PowerPoint, and we're going to do another a follow up to that, a part two. He has a PowerPoint ready for us today. And if you don't know who he is an author and a researcher covering topics such as, and there's a long list. I'm just going to read through them. Gematria, etymology, numerology, astronomy, astrology, astrotheology, out-of-body experiences, the Akashic records, symbology, remote viewing, religious secrets, the capstones of the pyramids, mystery schools, channelers, near-death experiences, and much more. So he's been doing amazing research for quite some time now, and we're having him back on to present some new information to our audience about astrotheology in the Bible. So welcome back to the show, Micah.
Well, thank you guys for having me back on. I'm glad we were finally able to reschedule with all the craziness that's been going on.
Yeah.
I'm really glad to be back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same. Good to have you back, man.
Yeah. So absolutely. So I guess explain to the audience what you're going to be covering today. And since it's a longer, from what I understand, it's a longer presentation, we can kind of just jump right into it. So maybe you can do a brief little intro of what you're bringing to us, and then we can you can share your screen and we can get rolling.
Okay, so for the people out there who saw my last presentation, this is going to be Bible codes beyond astrotheology, just in a different light, but it's tied into astrotheology. Remember, astrotheology basically explains how Jesus is the sun. If you guys have seen Zeitgeist didn't go nearly far enough to be able to convince people. It was just an intro-level thing. And then there was a lot of apologetics coming from the religious community that came out and attacked it, and then people just sort of dismissed it, but it's not to be dismissed. I'm going to show you guys some really interesting breakdowns of some of the stories, of some misnomers, miskeywords, what hell truly is, Baphomet is, Satan, Lucifer, things of that nature. And I mean, that's basically it. We're just going to go through it. It's not going to be as long as the other presentation. It's not. I could probably get through this in about 60, 70 minutes, to be honest with you. And I'm not even sure if it's going to be that long, to be honest. But it's just a follow-up to my first presentation.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, and if we have questions along the way, I might interject and have you, like, explain something a little more thoroughly or
Right.
kinda like we did last time. So, if you want, just go ahead and share your screen and take it away, and we can get started.
That would be great. Okay, hold on a sec. Okay, so this gives a little people some confusion, but I want to talk to you guys real quick about the Lascaux caves in France. In France, it goes back about 40,000 years. 40,000 years ago. Now, on the left, mystery unsolved. This Lascaux cave painting 17,000 years ago on the wall. And then on the right, the world's oldest cave painting showed human understood complex astronomy 40,000 years ago. So the reason it's called the Lascaux caves is because it's in Lascaux, France. And there were some teenagers a while back that went into the cave and they started exploring it and they made their way to the back of the cave. And when they went to the back of the cave, they saw this as an example. Now, this isn't everything, but this is just two examples. But right here, um, you see the horse right here. You see the bull right here. You see the many faces of the lion right here. And the horse is Sagittarius in astrology. The bull is Taurus, and the lion is Leo. So these students or these kids that went back, they were like, "Oh, we recognize this. So what are we going to do?" So they called people, and they eventually called the scientists. And the scientists came to the cave, and they went to the back of the cave, and they saw this. And the first thing that they did was they carbon dated it. Now, I get a lot of flack from the religious telling me that carbon dating is incorrect, and they're actually correct about that. Carbon dating has been proven to be accurate up to about 50,000 years. Whereas beyond that, like when they start telling you something is like 362 million years, that's nonsense. That's no. But it's been accurate up to about 50,000 years. But I don't even need it to be accurate to up to 50,000 years. I don't even need it to be accurate up to 7,000 years. I mean, 17,000 years. All I need it to do is be accurate older than the Bible. So like 7,000 years or 6,500 years. Because once you show that it's old, the Bible isn't the timeline, the beginning of everything, then if it's something that's older than that, then it can be much older than that. So anyway, these scientists carbon dated the bull and carbon dated the horse and the lion, and it came back to 17,000 years. And I know this for a fact because we also have, and I'm going to show you later, a swastika. The oldest swastika was found in Ukraine, and that's about 17,000 years too. But again, it doesn't even need to show that it's 17,000. It just needs to show that it's older than the Bible. Anyway, it came out to 17,000 years. So what did they do? Well, they called in an astrologer and an astronomer with a computer because we have the capabilities to do this now. And what they did was where they were located, exactly where they were located at the cave, they rewound time 17,000 years because we have computer programs that do this. And it showed what the stars looked like then. And what they did was they printed it out. They printed out what they had. And then when they put it up against the wall, all the constellations lined up in the right place. So Leo was exactly where it was, the lion was, the horse up here is exactly where Sagittarius was, the bull's right here. So they all lined up. So this is indicative that we have known about astrology for 17,000 years. That's longer than our last reset. Now, the Enuma Elish, the Babylonian creation epic, was from 1894 BCE. He, Marduk, constructed stations for the great gods, fixing their astral likenesses as the stars of the zodiac. He determined the year, and into sections he divided it. He set up three constellations for each of the 12 months. Why did he set up three constellations for each of the 12 months? Well, he set up three constellations for each of the 12 months. That's basically how the stars are basically set up. But this shows that it was 1894 BCE because there's a lot of people out there, for example, I'm not going to name podcast hosts, but that will say that um, the zodiac was not mentioned prior to 713 BC. So that's the thing. Now, The King James Version of the Bible is wildly inaccurate, even though it is the most cited. So let's talk about the King James Bible, a couple of things. First of all, King James was a homosexual demonologist. And if you don't believe me, here's his demonology book right here. On the right, you can get this on Amazon. This is his demonology book. He was a homosexual demonologist, commissioned William Tyndale to translate the Bible to English. And then if you look at what Thomas More tried to do down the road to him, you have to ask yourself, why is it when SCOTUS, the Supreme Court of the United States, comes back into session, the first thing that they do when they come back from vacation in the fall is they hold a mass to venerate St. Thomas More. St. Thomas More was the one who tried to actually break down what William Tyndale was going to do. Now, the patent for the King James Version is held by the British Crown, who gets royalties every time one is bought. So that's why they keep pushing the King James Version on you. The King James Version has been tampered with, and one example of how it has been tampered with is that William Shakespeare was 46 in 1611. He was born in 1564. Do the math. Why 1611? Because that's when the King James Version came out. So he was 46 then. And if you open up Psalm 46 in the Bible, the 46th word from the top is shake, and the 46th word from the bottom is spear. So this is a way that he inserted himself into that. And it's not just that. Thou shalt not kill is one of the 10 commandments, specifically the 6th in the Protestant tradition and the 5th in the Catholic tradition. I'm going to read that again. Thou shalt not kill is one of the 10 commandments, specifically the 6th commandment in the Protestant tradition and the 5th in the Catholic tradition. Now, for example, they say, I grew up raised that the 5th commandment was honor thy father and thy mother. I don't know about anybody else, but the original Hebrew phrasing is debated, with some translations favoring you shall not murder. This distinction is important because the Hebrew word ratzach, used in the commandment, typically refers to the unlawful taking of a human life rather than all forms of killing. The King James Version is inaccurate, but it's the most widely used one, and the one that people swear is just the everlasting word. Now, in every other Bible, Mazaroth, the word Mazaroth means zodiac. In Job 38:32, God says, can you lead forth the Mazaroth? That's the first thing he says to Job when he answers him. And it's plural, not the single Mazaroth, and Arcturus, as the King James Version says. Now, if I continue based on that, I just wanted to give you guys some basic idea that people who use the King James Version, it's inaccurate. And there's provable information that how it's inaccurate. Now, in the year 1367 BC, well before Moses, Akhenaten established monotheism under a sun god in Egypt. Abraham, as the story goes, stated the one true God belief, but that is just not true at all. In fact, during this time period, there have been found plenty of fertility gods and goddesses dug up in current times that the Jews had made. In fact, Moses is a character who is based on two Egyptians. He's based on Akhenaten, who's the basis of Moses, and he gets his name from Tuthmosis, which is where Tuthmosis to Moses. Akhenaten established monotheism. The Jews are not monotheistic. They're what is known as henotheistic, which means they picked one God out of many, which is why the commandments, 3 of them, say, you shall not worship anyone else but me, because they chose Yahweh. Yahweh, by the way, Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, Yahweh, is a Phoenician Canaanite deity. He was in the same pantheon as Moloch, as Baal. And if you read the Old Testament word for word, you'll see exactly what kind of a person he was. So I'm going to explain now Gnosticism in a pitch, because a lot of people have issues with getting it. Yahweh originally was a Phoenician Canaanite god, same as Baal and Moloch. The Jews are henotheistic, not monotheistic, meaning they chose one god out of many. as we just learned that monotheism was created by Akhenaten in 1367 BC. And if you remember my last passage, the sun god, it's no different than Christianity, Jesus' son. In Genesis 6:7, God says, I will wipe from the face of the earth the human race I have created, and with them the animals, the birds, and the creatures that move along the ground, for I regret that I have made them. In Isaiah 45:7, I form light and create darkness. I make well being and create calamity. I am the Lord who does all these things. So God commands, or Yahweh commands Abraham initially, when he commanded Abraham to sacrifice Isaac. His name wasn't Abraham, it was Abram, Abram, which is a combination of two Jewish words. Abba, which is where the Ab comes from, Abram, Abba, which means father. And Ram means ram, father ram, the father of the people of Aries. The Jews are the people of Aries, the ram worshippers. That's why they blow the ram's horn during the high holidays. So God commands Abram to sacrifice Isaac, and then he ends up not doing that, and then he becomes Abraham. Incidentally, this is the genesis of the conflict between the Arabs and the Jews. This is the very beginning of it. There is nothing prior to what I'm about to tell you. Abraham had a wife, Sarah, who was barren. So basically, Sarah told Abraham to knock up his servant. They had a son named Ishmael. God then unbarrens Sarah at 90, and they have a son named Isaac. The Muslims claim that Ishmael was to be sacrificed by Abram, and the Jews claim that it was Isaac who was to be sacrificed. Now, beyond this, God demanded a blood sacrifice, but stops it at the end. Through Abraham's faith, God allows the sacrifice to be transferred to animals, specifically rams, bulls, goats, or in astrology, that's Aries the ram, Taurus the bull, and Capricorn's the goat. Aside from that, Genesis 8:21, and the Lord was pleased with the aroma of the sacrifice from Noah. The Lord smelled the burning flesh and was pleased. So this is where the demiurge comes into play for the Gnostics. That this wasn't the one true God, but a lesser God, one who had bloodlust, who was jealous, sacrifices and all the blood spilled. The perfect red heifer that needs to be sacrificed, upon which the third temple can be built, and all the animal sacrifices made by the Jews. Then you have the Catholics with their transubstantiation, that they are literally eating the body and drinking the blood of Christ. The blood of St. Januarius refers to a vial of what is believed to be the blood of the martyred bishop St. Januarius, preserved in the Naples Cathedral. A recurring event known as the miracle of liquefaction involves this dried blood miraculously turning to liquid on special occasions through the year. The Christians who constantly say they are covered by the blood, or that the Savior's precious blood saved them. These are all demonic blood rituals. People don't understand this because they think that God is perfect and God is Yahweh and everything is great and everything is perfect. But all these religions have bloodlust that goes back to this holy text. The liquefaction, and what I'm showing you right here, that let me circle it better. There we go. This is the container. This is the liquefaction of St. January's blood. It's a recurring event. Traditionally, it occurs 3 times a year. On the Saturday before the first Sunday in May, commemorating the transfer of his remains to Naples. On September 19th, which is his feast day, and on December 16th in Thanksgiving for averting the 1631 eruption of Mount Vesuvius. Now, here's the thing. When they pull this thing out right here, if it doesn't liquefy, that is a really bad omen for the Catholics. So I know that this presentation is not like following a linear path as my other one is. I just want to get all this information out there, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no
So
problem.
so Jesus disappeared. So this is different than my previous presentation, but this is all good information too. Jesus disappears at 12 and he comes back at 30. But why that? Why? This has been a subject of great debate, but the answer is actually quite simple if you understand Judaism. What happens to a young Jewish boy at the age of 12? He becomes bar mitzvahed. He becomes a man. That's at age 12. Now, the Jews will sit there and tell me it's in his 13th year that he becomes bar mitzvahed. It's in his 13th year, not when he's 12. And I say, okay, let's talk about this character, Jesus. Let's say his birthday is December 25th, which is where they place him on there. And then the Christians will sit there and say, oh, he was born during the Feast of the Tabernacles. He was born on 9/11, which is why they use 9/11 as a ritual. He was born during Passover. And I'm telling you, this is the story behind the story, the December 25th, which, if you remember my astrotheology presentation previously, you'll remember the fact that December 25th is an important day astrologically because that's the day that the sun comes back to life. It's born again. The risen Savior, the light of the world, the only begotten Son, comes back to life and starts rising a degree a day. Thusly, things are going to start to get warmer now. We're going to get out of winter. So if he's born on December 25th, and most of the bar mitzvahs people have, it's like communion, right? It's in the spring. That's when most of the people have their bar mitzvahs. It's in the spring. Well, if he's born December 25th and he has his bar mitzvah in the spring, he's still 12 in his 13th year. So that's why he disappears at 12. So Jesus becomes a man and leaves to study, and he starts his ministry at 30. But why? The ancient Jewish religion has roots in Saturnalia worship before it. It's why their day of rest is the Saturn day or the Saturn day. So why 30? And you guys know this too. I'm going to show you later, but the black cube, Saturn, the black cube. So why 30? Saturnalia worshippers said that you were not allowed to become a teacher until you had your Saturn return. And it takes Saturn from the day you're born, 29.5 or 30 years to come back to the exact same place. So he disappears at 12, bar mitzvah, becomes a man, goes off to study. He starts teaching at 30 because now he's allowed to teach. Ezekiel's inaugural vision. So have you guys, real quick, have you guys seen this painting before or this picture?
Oh yeah, plenty of times.
Oh yeah.
Millions of times? All right, let's break this shit down. In my 30th year, in the 4th month of the 5th day, 30th year, by the way, my 30th, we just talked about this. 30, that's when you're allowed to teach. That's while I was among the exiles by the Kibar River, the heavens were opened and I saw visions of God. So let me show you this. Let me open it so you guys could see it a little bit better. And I'll just do this by memory. Now, God is the Son. Jesus is the Son. God and Jesus are one. This is Jesus the Son. Akhenaten, worship the Son. Got everyone to worship the Son God. God is in the Son. This right here, this is what an angel looks like. There's an actual word for it. Hold on, let me see if I can get it.
You're saying that Ezekiel's wheel is what an angel looks like?
Yes. It actually has a name. Hold on.
The end of the Nicolas Cage movie, Knowing, it literally depicts angels coming down in an Ezekiel's wheel type of etheric craft. It's really interesting.
And many people have seen those, by the way. In many stories.
It's called an orphanim. Orphan. That's what it is. Yes. That's what this thing is. Yes. In fact, so this is not part of the presentation, but have you guys heard the story about the Nikon P1000 that they took off the market? Camera.
The one that would see
yeah.
it would like see other dimensions or see like things that we couldn't perceive.
It would zoom into the stars and it would see this. So what they did was they recalled them and they messed with it a little bit. Even nowadays, when you go on eBay, you have to go to some like dark web to get an actual P. It's either the P900. I think it's the P1000. It's either P900 or P1000. But you could see this. It's the exact same thing. Now, so God is the Son. This is the orphan. And now if I zoom in a little bit, this should help out a little bit. Okay. In Revelation 4:7, there was a four-headed creature. One had the head of a lion, one had the head of an ox, one had the head of a man, and one had the head of a flying eagle. This is the lion, this is the man, this is the bull or the ox, and this is the eagle. Now, what is that? Well, those are the four fixed signs of the zodiac. The man is Aquarius, the sign of the man. The bull is Taurus. The lion is Leo. And the eagle is Scorpio. Scorpio evolves into the eagle in astrology. And to explain that real quick, the scorpion is the belly crawling creature. It slithers on its belly. It's considered a low form of life on Earth. The first thing that God does in the Garden of Eden is not after the deception, by the way, is the first thing he does. He doesn't kick them out right away. That's not what he does immediately. The first thing that he does, first and foremost, is he takes the legs away from the snake to make him slither on his belly. It's a punishment. In Peru, men get in their hands and knees during Santo Muerte and in their suits, and they slither on their belly to church. It's a punishment, but it evolves. That's its low form. You got to think of this as kind of like a Carl Jung evolution. Its evolved form is the eagle. The eagle is the highest flying form of life on Earth. So that's how it grows. So you have Aquarius, Taurus, Leo, and Scorpio. Those are the four fixed signs of the zodiac. You have 12 zodiac signs, and you have 4 seasons. So in each season, there's 3 zodiac signs. It's 4 times 3 is 12. The first sign in the season. So, for example, Aquarius, this is winter. The lion is summer. The bull is spring, and the eagle is, or scorpion, is fall. The first sign in the season out of the 3 is known as the cardinal sign. That's why there's cardinals in church. And if you actually were to take a zodiac sign, an astrologer or anybody will be able to tell you, you break them down. They have 3 10-day segments, and the word for that is called a decan. It's the first decan, second decan, and the third decan. That's how you know that there's deacons and cardinals in church, because it's astrology. So basically, you have, when you're looking at this, you've got up here, you have the aura from the angel over here, and you have the 4 fixed signs. It's called the fixed sign because it's the second out of the third sign in the season. So the second sign is sandwiched between the first and the third, so it's the dead of the season. And I just told you, Aquarius winter, Taurus spring, Leo summer, Eagle fall. So that's Ezekiel's vision right here. This is Ezekiel's vision that he had. Now, we know that biblical flood never occurred because there were great civilizations thriving during that time. They kept good records and neglected to mention that they were all wiped from the face of the earth. You have the Chinese in the Neolithic dynasty, the Egyptians dynasties 4, 5, and 6. You have the Mesopotamians, the early dynastic period, the Sumerians, the early dynastics 3A and 3B, the Peruvians, Norte Chico civilization, and more. We find a continuous line of culture, construction, art, and historical records that run through the time of Noah's flood was supposed to happen. So we'll get into more art soon. Numbers 21, 4-9. The Lord sent fiery serpents among the people, and they bit the people so that many people of Israel died. So the people came to Moses and said, "We have sinned because we have spoken against the Lord and you. Intercede with the Lord that he may remove the serpents from us." And Moses interceded from the people. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Make a fiery serpent and set it on a standard." So there's the staff. Set the serpent on it. You guys recognize that?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
It's the rod of Asclepius. That's how they called it in Greece. It's the caduceus. But where it comes from is the Kundalini yoga right here. These are the chakras. Whenever they tell you that yoga or chakras or anything is new age, remind them that new age is a buzzword created for Christians and religious people who do not look into things that are deeper. All
Exactly.
these things that they say are new age actually are older than even the idea of Satan.
Yeah.
So the Egyptians kept pristine, meticulous records about their history, even the things that were unflattering or painted them in a bad light. There is zero evidence in the Egyptian records of Exodus, of Moses, of the plagues of the Red Sea parting. Also, within the Bible, there is zero mention of the pyramids or the Sphinx, which you find odd. The other thing too is that the Egyptians revered cats. They loved cats because cats actually have the ability to see other dimensions. They can see. That's why a cat knows when somebody's dying. They have a pet in the hospital in the hospice because they sit with the patient as they're transitioning because they know it's about to happen. The cats were revered during the Egyptian times. And you know what happened during the Jewish times? The Egyptians were the age of Taurus, the bull. That's why there's so many hieroglyphs of the bull with the sun between its horns, because it's the sun in Taurus. And the Jews are the people of Aries. Well, the Jews wrote the New Testament. And do you know that in the Bible, there is not one mention? They have, I think, 29 or 36 mentions of dragon, but there is not, and they have unicorns in there too. There is not one mention of a cat. They completely erased that, erasing all the stuff that cats are able to do. So, simply and always has been described the path of the sun over the ecliptic as the sun dances its way around the 12 zodiac signs. Mithra, born on December 25th, the Immaculate Conception. He is the sun god and Messiah. 12 disciples accepted sins. Was killed and resurrected, becoming God incarnate. Cult includes communion and baptism. Adonis, born December 25th, Greek god of fertility, aka Babylonian Tammuz, aka the Syrian savior. He was killed and buried, resurrected 3 days later. Dionysus, born on December 25th as a result of the Immaculate Conception, Greek god of winemaking, aka Bacchus, aka savior and liberator of mankind, naturally with communion. Osiris, born in late December to a virgin, Egyptian sun and underworld god, aka judge of the dead, aka one of the Egyptian trinity, ruled over 12 kings, betrayed, killed, buried, risen after 3 days. Horus, born December 25th to Isis as a result of the Immaculate Conception from the spirit of Isis. God of the sun and light, one of the Egyptian trinity, embodied the resurrection. God equals the sun. December 25th, that's the day of the resurrection of the sun. So when I tell you that the sun resurrects and born again, it comes back to life, let me break that down for you. On December 25th, the sun rises a degree on its axis. On December 26th, the following day, it raises an additional degree. On December 27th, an additional degree. What's happening now is the sun is staying up longer and down shorter. So it's getting warmer. So pretty soon spring will come around and things are going to come back to life and then you're going to be able to harvest and all that kind of good stuff. When the sun rises a degree of the day every single day until June 21st, it's its height. That's the first day of summer. That's the longest day of the year, the shortest night of the year. What the sun then does for 3 consecutive days after that is it's not going to rise an additional degree or drop a degree. What it does is it rises to the exact same degree that it did on June 21st. So basically, they considered it the sun was walking sideways, which is why Cancer is the crab, because the crab is the sideways walking creature. Then what happens is on June 25th, the sun is going to drop a degree. Then on June 26th, it's going to drop another degree. And now it's going to do the reverse pattern. So now the days are getting shorter and the nights are getting longer. We're going to hit winter and then it's going to be frozen. Everything's going to be dead and no good. And then what happens is it's going to go all the way down until it hits December 21st. That is the winter solstice. The ancients used to look out in the morning on the winter solstice and they noticed the sun doesn't even crack the horizon. So metaphorically, they used to say that the sun was dead. And then what's it going to do? It's going to walk sideways like the crab for 3 days again. So now God's son was dead for 3 days, where the son is born again, the light of the world, the risen Savior, the only begotten son comes back to life. It's born again on December 25th. That story is why all these gods over here are born on December 25th. That is why. It's the astrological backstory. Now, in case you think the Bible's original, chapter 125, Egyptian Book of the Dead, the declarations of the innocence between the gods of the tribunal. O swallower of shades who came forth from Kernet, I have not slain people. That is taken and becomes thou shalt not kill, or thou shalt not murder. O doubly evil one who came forth from the Brucerite note, I have not had intercourse with a married wife. That becomes thou shalt not covet your neighbor's wife. O he who prospers the common people who came forth from Asiod, I have not cursed the God. Thou shalt not take the Lord's name in vain. This is chapter 125 of the Egyptian Book of the Dead. If any of you guys were to pick that up, you could open this up right now and you will see that there's 3 of the 10 commandments are mentioned here. If you want to find the rest of them, they're in the Egyptian Book of the Dead under the section 42 positive affirmations of Mott. You'll find that too. But wide openly, chapter 125, these are 3 of the 10 commandments. It's all borrowed. Now, the story of Lazarus with Jesus, right, who he raised from the dead. El Azar us. El Azar us is Osiris, who Horus raised from the dead. The Greek name Lazarus equals Eliezer in Hebrew and means whom God helps. It is a strange coincidence, firstly, that the person whom Jesus resurrects happens to be named whom God helps. And secondly, that Eliezer, or breaking down its original components in Hebrew, El and Azar, closely resembles a combination of the Semitic word for God, El, with the Egyptian name for Osiris, Osir. So the idea that Lazarus was raised from the dead is a borrowed from Egyptian trope. Now, to me, I do believe in God. I do believe in God, and I think that this proves God to me. The sun tells the hour of the day, the moon tells the day of the month, the zodiac tells the month of the year. Where we're located, if you want to believe in the round earth or flat earth or whatever you want to believe in, I'm not going to get into that. But where we're located, wherever we're located in space and time and anything, there is a perfect calendar, a celestial calendar out there that they were obsessed with, that they had to know. They had to understand the sun and the moon because they needed to tell time. Why did they need to tell time? Because they didn't have any weathermen, because they didn't have anything. They needed to know when to plant. They needed to know when to harvest. They needed to know when to store. They needed to know when winter was coming because they can't just be surprised with it. Now, the turtle used to be revered in the ancient times too, and I'm going to show you why right now. Because the turtle, if you count the inner rings right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, I messed it up. Hold on. Oh, no, I didn't. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Now, I'm not going to count all these, but if you go through the outer ring of the turtle, you'll find that there's 28. 13 times 28 is 364, plus your 1 day for the new year of rest. The turtle used to be a calendar because the turtle, this is the cycles of a woman. This is the cycles of the moon. This is the cycle of, this is 13 at 28. So they used to revere the turtle. So remember how I told you that the bull with the sun between its horns? There you go, right there.
Mhm.
Moses goes up to get the 10 commandments, and when he comes down, he sees them worshiping a golden calf. A golden calf. The sun is the gold, and the calf is the bull of Taurus. They were worshiping the sun in Taurus. whereas they are the Jews or the people of Aries. So Moses breaks the commandments, he slams them down, and that's where we get the phrase breaking the law from, because he broke the law. Here's the example. Here's a hieroglyph right here of the sun with the bull, the ram's horn, and the fish. So the ancient Egyptians used to worship the sun in Taurus because they were the people of Taurus. The Jews are the people of Aries. That's why they blow the ram's horn to the sky in the holidays. Now, the Christians are the people of the age of Pisces, right? That's why they have Jesus fish, which is right here. That's why Jesus fed the masses with two fish. The two fish are Pisces. And if you read John 21, so Simon Peter climbed back into the boat and dragged the net ashore. It was full of large fish, 153. But even with so many, the net was not torn. So this is known as the Vesica Pisces. This is the two interlapping circles. This is the Vesica Pisces. So here's one Jesus fish. Here's the other fish. That's the two fish for Pisces. Now, what is the mathematical equation of this, right? The mathematical equation of the center is the square root of 3, which is 265 over 153. So they embedded sacred math into the Bible too. But I'm not going to go into the numerology of all that. But basically, this article from Back to Jerusalem, One World Religion headquarters is set to open next year. They're trying to merge them all. So this is a screenshot from something from the Encyclopedia Britannica, in case people want to know about sources and all this kind of stuff. People are still, source this, source that. This is the Encyclopedia Britannica. This is the talking about the Synod of Jamnia. What the Synod of Jamnia was in 100 AD. If you were to read the Encyclopedia Britannica, you'd get most of this. Not all of it, but most of it. 100 AD, the Bible. Okay, 100 AD, the Bible was not canonized. The Old Testament was not canonized, which meant the books were all over the place. So people like to think that the book of Genesis is the oldest one because it's talking about the very beginning, but it's not. The oldest book in the Bible is the book of Job, and it's not even at the beginning or the end of the Bible. It's somewhere in the middle. So they had to basically put these stories together. Now, why do I bring this up? I bring this up because 30 years prior to the Synod of Jamnia, there was a gospel that came out called the Gospel of Mark. The Gospel of Mark is the oldest gospel out there, out of the four. Came out 70 AD, right around the time of the destruction of the Second Temple. And what the people at the Synod of Jamnia were doing is they spent some time there deliberating whether or not to include the book of Mark in the Old Testament. So it's not divine. This was man-made and man put together. Now, you guys have obviously heard the arguments from people before that say, should I be put to death for mixing fabrics? Who don't really understand why the Bible even said to do that. First of all, being put to death because of mixing fabrics is a little over the top. But if you understand that the Jews get their code of ethics from the Code of Hammurabi, it would make more sense. There was a study by Dr. Heidi Yellen, which suggests that the fabrics in our wardrobe influence our well-being in ways we never imagined. Grounded in bioenergetics, the study revealed that everything vibrates at its own unique frequency, which we know that from string theory, which we knew that before string theory 6,000 years ago from the Hermetica, the third Hermetic principle, the principle of vibration. Yellen found that everything, including fabrics, has a unique vibrational signature that can influence our energy. Dr. Yellen conducted her research with the AG Environ machine, a unique instrument that's used to measure the frequency of fabrics. The study indicates that the frequency of a healthy human body rests at 100. So that's homeostasis. It's like oxygen. When the frequency decreases below 100, it could imply a disruption in the body's natural balance, potentially leading to various physical and psychological symptoms. The study suggests a relationship between fabric frequencies and human health. High frequency fabrics like linen, hemp, organic cotton, and wool impart energy, while low frequency synthetics might drain it. Linen fabric, as ancient as civilization itself, is the standout fabric in Yellen's study with a staggering frequency of 5,000. This is significantly higher than the human body's frequency, which averages around 100. Linen's high frequency suggests that it could impart energy to the wearer, potentially boosting vitality and well being. Historically, linen has been revered for its healing properties, often used in bandages, linen sheets, and clothing for its natural resistance to bacterial growth and fungi. Like linen, wool resonates at a frequency of 5,000. Organic cotton stands out with a frequency of 100. Silk, a fabric known for its luxurious texture, was measured at a frequency of just 10. Rayon, another fabric examined in the study, recorded a frequency of 15. Synthetic fabrics like polyester, acrylic, and nylon with a 0 frequency. Now, here's the important thing that she came to understand too. When fabrics are mixed together, even if both are positive, it cancels out to 0. So when you read Leviticus 19:19, nor shall a garment of mixed linen and wool come upon you. Or Deuteronomy 22:11, thou shalt not wear a garment of divers sorts, as of wool and linen together. Now it makes a little bit more sense. Sure, the punishment of death is a little crazy, but I mean, that's because of the Code of Hammurabi. That's where the Jews, everything is borrowed. Remember that. Now, in Genesis 32:30, again, I have to point out the 30 because the 30 is the year you're able to teach. It's when Ezekiel saw his vision. And Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, for I have seen God face to face, and my life is preserved. Peniel just becomes pineal. This right here, a lot of you probably know this already. This is the eye of Horus. And this right here is a sagittal cut. So if I were to take a human brain and slice it down here and then open it like that, this is what you would see. Now, this is the pineal gland, the thing in the middle. This is the corpus callosum of the brain. This forms the eye of Horus. Now, check this out. In many Buddhist traditions, 49 days is the total mourning period, with prayers conducted every 7 days across 7 weeks. These Buddhists believe that rebirth takes place within 49 days after death. The Jews have a 49-day time period too called Lag BaOmer. It's the counting of the Omer. 49 years is also called a Jubilee. The Catholics have a 49-day time period called the Pentecost. This is after Easter when you get your communion confirmation done. So what's so special about 49? Well, it just so happens now that we have advanced sonogram equipment, we can see that the pineal gland becomes visible in a scan on the 49th day of gestation. Now, here's the interesting thing, too. That is supposedly when the soul comes in on the 49th day. That is 7 weeks. That is 7 weeks gestation. You have all these states out there that are capping abortion at 6 weeks. Because at the very top, they know this. Because how it works with karma is that if you were to have an abortion with the soul already in the body, you have to karmically pay that back. But if you do it within 6 weeks, when the soul is not in the body, you do not have to karmically pay that back.
Hmm.
Now,
Interesting.
hell is the flaming inferno, right? This is what everybody's scared of, right? It is burning alive down here. That's what everybody's scared of. They think hell is a flaming inferno, but it's actually not. Because how do we detect pain? How do we detect pain? It's through the nervous system, the brain, the spinal cord, the nerve endings, the neurons. So when you die, guys, and all of this just gets eaten by bugs and goes away, and you become a spirit and you go away, how are you going to sense pain in a lake of fire if you do not have the sensory system in order to feel that? The truth of the matter is, again, everything is inverted. Hell is actually winter. I'm going to show you.
Yes. Sorry, I've been saying that for years. I swear. Okay.
That's what I'm going through right now.
Right.
Hell is now winter. The idea of a fiery pit where you burn for all eternity is ridiculous when you think about it. Hell is actually winter on Earth. Why? It's cold. The vegetation and beautiful flowers and plants are dead. The trees shed their leaves and bear no fruit. It's freezing cold out. People tend to get sick more often. Dangerous animals, if they're not hibernating, are starving and scrounging for food. It's dangerous for humans.
Well, and that's why I've always said the ice ages were basically to bring hell on Earth, like the way
Yeah.
yeah.
Hell is winter, and then everyone I'll show you how they flipped it. The Italian word for winter is inverno. And if you flip a letter, inferno, and pervert its meaning, you get the concept of hell. This picture down here, this is a picture of Dante Alighieri's The Divine Comedy. Satan's in the bottom level of hell. Well, he's not burning, is he? No, it's a tundra. It's a frozen tundra. He is frozen up to his waist because his wings are flapping so hard that it's freezing everything over. Dante knew hell was winter, and because he exposed it that way, they drove him out. Hell is winter. Satan and Lucifer. Satan does not exist. He is not a red devil with a tail and a pitchfork. In fact, the earliest paintings of him in the 900s, he was actually blue, which is, by the way, why we have the Duke Blue Devils in
Hmm.
college basketball. The Hebrew word for Satan is Hashatan, which literally translates to adversary. So, in proper context, two competing sports teams, two UFC fighters, two wrestlers, whatever, that's Satan. They're Satans to one another. Lucifer, he is known as the light bringer. Genesis 1:3. And God said, "Let there be light." How can there be light without the light bearer? Lucifer is immediately mentioned in the Bible, if not by name, but by action and purpose. Lucifer is also known as the morning star. The morning star is also known as the planet Venus. The reasoning is that if you go out and you look at the sky just before sunrise in the east, you will see a bright light directly over it. That's Venus. It announces the arrival of God's only begotten Son, the light of the world. Lucifer is also known to have a pentagram. That's his symbol. Continuing with Lucifer as Venus, if you follow Earth and Venus's orbit around the sun in a year's time, they almost connect at 5 points. This is what it looks like, guys. Look. This is Earth and Venus, Earth and Venus, Earth and Venus. It forms a pentagram. Venus is Lucifer. This is why Jesus calls himself the morning star in John 22:16. I am the bright morning star. Well, Lucifer is the morning star. Well, they're both the morning star. Jesus is the sun and Lucifer is Venus. They're both the morning star. And it's all there. You just have to look for it.
Yeah.
This is the rudimentary phallic symbol, the original penis, so to speak. It is known as the blade. This is the rudimentary sign of the womb, the chalice, the feminine. So this is like the head of the penis right here, and this is like the womb right here. Now, this is the Star of David. It's the joining of the two. It's a hermaphrodite, so to speak. And there's more sex magic in the Bible than you think. This right here is a blueprint for Solomon's temple. This is if you recreated it, cubits are down here, faithfully, from as the Bible says it. This is Solomon's temple. It's important to note that Solomon is not a name of a person. It's a combination of 3 words for the sun. Sol, or sun in Latin, Om, or sun in Buddhism. On was the city of light in Heliopolis, Greece. Solomon, the city of light, by the way, which is why when you go into a bedroom, you turn the lights on to get the light, because we stole it from that. This was created using sex magic. Yakin and Boaz right here. These are the testicles. This is an overhead view. The porch, this is the base. The holy place, this is the shaft. The Holy of Holies is the head. This is the hole. This is where the DNA is stored. This is where the semen comes out of. This is where the DNA of the Torah is stored. This is a penis. This is the ovaries. This is a penis entering a vagina. That is Solomon's temple. That's what they're trying to show you. And the 3 names for the sun is because all these stories are different ways of talking about the sun. Samson and Delilah. If you notice that Samson and the sun have the same derivatives. So this word in Hebrew, this says Shimshon. You have to read from right to left, by the way. Shimshon. This is Delilah. Delilah. Okay, so the root of Shimshon hold on. In Hebrew, the sun is called the Shamash, which is also what the Hanukkah candle that lights the rest of them are called. So Shimshon means little sun in Hebrew. Delilah, the root of Delilah, this is Lila, this is Lila, this is a Dalet, this is a D. And what you see under here, guys, these little dots right here, those are vowels. Those are vowels in Hebrew. Shimshon means little sun. The root of Delilah is Lila, which means night. So you have the little sun and the night. Well, what is the story? Story of Delilah is that Samson gets his hair cut, which takes away his power. He ends up eyes gouged out, and blind. This is the story of how the sun goes away at night and people become blind. It's the eternal battle between the sun and night, or set from the ancient Egyptians, which is why we have a sunset. Jonah in the body of the whale. In Hebrew, the words are dag gadol, which translates to great giant fish. He's in it for 3 days. Well, what's the 3 days? That's the 3 days of death, the 3 days of death of the sun. That's why he's in it for 3 days and he doesn't do anything for 3 days. Daniel and the lion's den. It's a story revolving around 2 signs in astrology. Daniel, the man, Aquarius, and the lions, which are Leo, the lion. In the zodiac, they are opposing signs. And then we already did that. Lot and Lot's wife in Sodom and Gomorrah. In the ancient times, people were paid with salt. It's where the word salary comes from. The S-A-L, that comes from there. Why? Because it preserved the meat. And when you killed a cow and didn't eat it in one day, it would go bad. Salt kept it viable for longer. Salt, there was no refrigeration back then. Salt was the highest currency aside from gold and silver. So, so when Lot's wife turns into a pile of salt, you have to think about it like what she was doing was leaving Las Vegas with the gambling, the hookers, debauchery. Told not to turn back, she turns back. She turns into a pile of salt. So it's basically a pile of gold coins. So imagine for a second how valuable salt was. And if somebody came up and saw a pillar of salt that was supposedly Lot's wife, I mean, that's a lot of money right there.
Mm-hmm.
So now the zodiac surrounds the Stufetta de Bibbiena, the papal bath. Now, I know you guys can't see this right here, but everything that I'm highlighting right here, this is all zodiac related. But it was redone in 1516 or 1517 by Raphael. That Raphael, not the Ninja Turtle, the Raphael, that painter. He redid this for the whole thing. Right now, the zodiac surrounds the Stufetta de Bibbiena, which means that the Pope and everybody in there understands the zodiac in the sky and the astrotheology. But if you strip that away from what Raphael added to it, you'll find that there was a bunch of Greek gods and goddesses plastered all over the place that they covered up. Now, there's a town in Israel called Megiddo, which a 3rd century church was found under another church. It's one of the oldest churches known to man. In the center of the floor is the mosaic of the 2 fish Pisces. This isn't a church from the 200s because they knew Jesus was the fish. Jesus was the age of Pisces. He was the solar deity of the age of Pisces. Megiddo is also the root of the word Armageddon. We get it right here, Megiddo, which is where the war on earth and the rapture is supposed to begin. So let me show you some other stuff that they have in modern art. This is God giving Adam life, right? Well, the first thing you'll notice is if you look at what I'm highlighting right here, and I'm going to take my time so that I do this correctly. What does this look like to you guys?
Uh, I don't know, brain, heart.
Exactly. Exactly. You got it. This is a brain. This is what happens if you look inside a brain. Now you have God in the brain, and where he's sitting right here, where his energy is, where his Kundalini energy is, he is literally sitting where the pineal gland would be sitting. And if you count these, 1, 2, 3, I'm not going to highlight them all because I don't have to, but there's 12 of them, just like the 12 cranial nerves that are in the brain. So this is God coming down with the 12 cranial nerves inside the brain through the pineal gland, our access to God, giving Adam life. And if you notice this too, he's reaching out for him right here. But Adam doesn't really know what's going on. That's why his finger is so limp. That's why he's not reaching back out. But this is the kind of stuff they used to have to embed. They couldn't tell you this kind of stuff because obviously the church would have issues with it. This is Da Vinci's Last Supper. This is incredibly famous. Just going to give you a few examples right here. You notice how there's 3, 3, 3, 3. It's the seasons. It's the zodiac again. The year starts in Aries and it ends in Pisces. Jesus is the sun in the middle. So this is Aries. He's wearing green because Aries is the springtime. It's the opening of the year. It's April. The word apri, A-P-R-I, in Italian means to open. It's the opening of the year. That's why we have April. It opens the year. He's wearing green because the snow is melted and everything is green. This is Gemini right here, holding his 2 hands up, showing him he's the twins. This is Cancer right here. This is Leo right here. And look what he's doing right here. I don't know if you could see this. Let me highlight it. Let me remove that. He's pointing. Let me show you. You see how he's pointing right here? Because after Leo is Virgo, the woman, this is a woman right here. And he's pointing at her Adam's apple because he's showing you that he doesn't have one. Then you have Jesus right here. And Libra is the scales like this. That's what he's showing you right here. Look at that. This is, they used to have to embed and encode this stuff because they would be killed if they just came out and shared this knowledge with the dumb population out there. So that's why they did that. Now, this is Mother Mary in a half shell, right? These are pictures of Mary, different pictures of Mary. What do they look like to you?
Vagina, womb.
Vagina.
Yeah.
Mother Mary is Virgo, the Virgin, the holy vagina that was worshipped. In fact, I posted this exact picture right here on Facebook a few months back, and I got banned from going live or joining groups because their bot flagged this as porn.
Yeah, that's how similar it is, yeah.
It's all just like Solomon's temple, it's all encoded. So let me show you this one. Okay, this is the manger scene, right? Well, check this out. Right here, you'll see where I put the dot that there's a sun behind Jesus' head because even as an infant picture, even in the manger where Jesus is an adult, the sun is behind his head. It's not a halo, the sun is behind his head. So let me show you. The star right here is always in the sky is Polaris. It's always the northern star. Now you see the sheep, that's Aries. You see the bull right here, that's Taurus. Those are connecting signs. You see the camel right here. That's a constellation called Camelopardalis, which is in Gemini, which connects to Taurus, which connects to Aries. So that's 3 zodiac signs in a row. Then you have the donkey back here. That's Acellus Borealis, which is known as the donkey, which is in a Cancer. Now that's 4 signs in a row. Also, the manger is the name for what the beehive cluster in Cancer used to be called. And you see the alchemical clothing, baby Jesus, the newborn son. You have Virgo, the virgin. The sun's behind his head. The man is Aquarius. There's also a horse. The horse is Sagittarius. And incidentally, you have the 3 wise men, right? 1, 2, and 3. Notice the carrying shit. What is it? It's frankincense and myrrh. Well, I don't know if you know this, but frankincense and myrrh are both olive plants. And olive plants, if you remember my last presentation, are Libra. That's when it's harvested. So basically, what I'm trying to show you guys is that there's about 9 different signs of the zodiac in this one picture. That's what they used to encode. They used to bury this stuff because it was too dangerous for the masses to have it. Now, if you were to go to Google and you look up when Saturn was discovered, it'll tell you 1610. This is a screenshot of what I found. In 1610, Italian astronomer Galileo Galilei was the first to gaze at Saturn through a telescope. To his surprise, he saw a pair of objects on either side of the planet. So Saturn was discovered in 1610, right? Well, I just showed you guys ancient Saturnalia festival information that they just lie about. So you can't trust search engines when you look up stuff because they lie to you. They bury this stuff deep. Just how Julian the Apostate, who was the nephew of Constantine, right? Constantine brought everybody under Christ. Whether he was baptized on his deathbed or he did it while he was alive is kind of up for debate, to be honest with you. I've heard both. But he brought everybody to literal Christianity. But Julian the Apostate tried to bring everyone back to sun worship. He was his nephew. He tried to bring everyone back to that. 1700 years ago, in his book, because Julian the Apostate's book still exists, he literally talks about the sun being the fiery chariot that the planets dance around. 1700 years before heliocentrism was found. Now, Saturn worship, right? This is the black cube in Mecca. This is the black cube that the Jews wear. This is known as a tefillin right here. The Nintendo black cube, GameCube. The Sega Saturn was a black cube. The black motor hat, the black. This is all Saturn worship. You know what else is Saturn worship? Do you know why it's a black cube? It's a hex because there's a hex on the surface of Saturn at the top. It's a storm system that never seems to go away. Saturn has rings, which is why women wear their earrings, because they were told that they had to listen to their god, and their god was Saturn. So they got their ears pierced with rings so they could listen to God. Men wore wedding rings because they were told that they had to pledge their fidelity in front of their god. And then more astrology stuff, guys. This is Gobekli Tepe. I forget where it is in this entire thing, but within this picture right here, one of this was an astrological observatory. Now, what did they do to Gobekli Tepe? Well, they started covering it up because it wasn't fitting the timeline. It was 12,000 years ago that some of this stuff was dated. They started covering it up. And what did they cover it up with? They covered it up with olive plants. And why olive plants? Because in Turkey, olives are protected. They're protected. You cannot chop down an olive tree. So what they did was they're covering this all up. They're burying this, and they're covering it with something that they can never dig under. Stonehenge was an astrological observatory too. That's why everybody gathers there June 21st. With the Sphinx. The Sphinx is right here in the back, which you can't really see. But in the back right here, it's very smooth. It's very smooth. It's not like coarse, like sand had gone over it for thousands of years. It's more like water had hit it for thousands of years. And when was the last time water was in Egypt there? It was during the last ice age, 12,000 years ago. Well, if you go back 12,000 years ago, that's the age of Leo. And if you look at where the Sphinx is facing, 12,000 years ago, it would have been facing the constellation Leo. So it would have been facing its home. Right now, it's facing the age of Aquarius because we're halfway through the great year, which is going through all the signs. The pyramids, right? They line up to Orion's belt perfectly. This is a machine that they had no idea, the Antikythera mechanism. They found this in a Greek ship that was sunken. They had no idea what it was. Well, when they recreated it, it was an advanced astrological mapping system. How important astrology was back in the day. Why is January 1st New Year's Day? Neil deGrasse Tyson has gone on record that nothing special happens on January 1st or December 31st. He's wrong, and I've tried to call him out on it. Something interesting happens. It's our new year in the world because at midnight on December 31st, if you look up as high as you can into the sky, you'll see Sirius at its height. That's our dog star. That's our binary star. It does not get any higher than that. At midnight, December 31st, look straight up in the sky when you go out. You'll see it. Then what you do is you follow a line straight down and you hit Earth. And then if you continue to follow a line straight down, you get the sun. It's a perfect alignment. It's an alignment that happens once a year. And this downward motion going through to show the alignment is what they're showing you in Times Square when they're dropping the ball. That's why you drop a ball in Times Square, because you're showing this movement. Otherwise, the new year should be around March 21st, the spring equinox, when Passover and Easter happen, or September 21st, the fall equinox, when the Jews have their New Year's celebration, or the solstices. So I got this from a religious person's Twitter that I follow. It says, "Church, don't be discouraged. The real Feast of Trumpets is actually today for us. The new moon needs to be in the constellation of Libra. This is going to happen on September 19th at 1:20 a.m. Israel time. So it would be at 6:20 p.m. EST for us. Please keep praying and keep looking up." This is from a Christian religious person. So what I'm going to ask is, why is it okay for the Christians to use astrology when it benefits them? But when I point out all hidden stuff with it, suddenly I'm evil.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
So Abu Dawood, it is suggested that the Prophet Muhammad stated, "Whoever seeks knowledge from the stars is seeking one of the branches of witchcraft, that is which is inherently forbidden in Islam." So the Muslims don't like it either. The Book of Revelation. Opening up your third eye, Christ consciousness, chakras, yoga, reincarnation, astrology, numerology are all part of the New Age deception. Stay far away from them. Bitch, all that stuff is older than your Bible.
This is what I always say. Everything they call New Age is extremely ancient, and it's way more ancient than modern day Christianity. So
Exactly.
it's a complete inversion, and they call that like this new deception.
They call it the new deception. It's a
It
buzzword.
is
They invert it.
evil, right? And then it keeps you away from it because you think it's evil and you think it's bad, and you just completely ignore it or stay
Well,
away from it or demonize it.
meanwhile, they're literally practicing a form of like paganism and blood ritual, like you mentioned earlier.
It is their
So,
blood. Their
Exactly.
blood cult.
Meanwhile, they're doing blood rituals and these satanic rituals unbeknownst to them because
They
they
have
don't.
no idea what they're invoking. You know the word amen, right? When they say
yeah.
amen in church, in Hebrew, in temple or church, amen, the Jews will say that it translates to "and so it be" or "let it be."
Amen
But
Ra.
so it will be. Amen
Ra.
is actually amen ra.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most Christians don't even know that because they've
Yep.
never researched anything. Like you're
So you got
literally
to
saying Amen Ra every time you say Amen or Amen.
exactly. You're giving it to an Egyptian sun deity, by the way. So you have the swastika. The swastika, if you read Wikipedia, for example, talks about its origins of ancient times, from ancient religions and its peaceful meaning. Again, tweak it a little and pervert the meaning, and you get the modern day peace that we see that will never be reclaimed as a peaceful symbol. But it goes further than that. The swastika isn't Buddhist or Hindu, Babylonian, Assyrian, or Sumerian. It's actually astrology. This is the swastika I was telling you about. This is what you're looking at right here. This is, and you can't really see it, but it's right here. This is the 17,000-year-old swastika. But what is swastika? You take Polaris, the northern star, and you rotate the Big Dipper on it, during the solstices and the equinox.
Yep. Yep.
Yep.
So you have this, the flower of life, right? The Ancient Secret of the Flower of Life by Junvala Melchizedek is the best book to understand sacred geometry.
Fantastic book. I have it.
That was
Great
actually
book.
the first book I read post awakening. When I started waking up, that was the
Me
first book I
too.
found. Yeah.
Me too, honestly. But I haven't read all three. I just read the first one, and it was
Same.
at the
I have
time
volumes
I
1 and
was
2.
just I was just waking up, so it was like so beyond me. But I was so fascinated.
Right.
But I was like waking up, so I was like, it's kind of like you have to learn how to walk again. It actually spawned this. Remember this?
Oh yeah, I used to watch that channel all the time.
Me too. Spirit science is
Great.
literally this.
They also talk about in that book the 90-degree turns being related to either time travel or the speed of light. I think it was something related to that, but it was very interesting. Like they understood that stuff even back then,
Right. So spirit science is literally that. You have DNA, right? Adenine, thymine, cytosine, guanine, and the phosphate backbone. If you were to take DNA and you were to give it a cross-section cut like this, it's the flower of life. It's the flower of life. It's the same thing. This is different forms of DNA. This is what it looks like above. It's the sacral fractal patterns. Now, you guys know that the Rockefeller Institute brought us out of 432 hertz for music and put us at 440, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Nobody knows about that in regular everyday bullshit. But there were some people that tried to keep us in 432, like Hendrix, Joplin, Cobain, Winehouse.
Look what happened to all them.
Right?
They all got taken out.
Morrison was another one.
Same thing. Yep.
Yeah. So, guys, you know Dr. Emoto's work?
Yes.
Okay. So, obviously, these are fractal patterns that are made when you say blissful things. This is what you say to water. This is the patterns it make. And when you start talking bad to them, it pollutes it. Now, this brings me to this lady who was in a church. She was like this. It's like she had an empty pew and she had this. She set up some recording equipment right here. And she set up a table right here next to it with sand on it. And what she did was she recorded the silence of the church. She recorded the silence of the church. And then after a while, she stopped it and then she recorded it again. And then what she started to do was she started to layer the silence over until things started to vibrate and we started getting patterns in that sand. This is some example right here of what happened. These are the patterns that made when you just record the silence in the church. Now you see this one right here?
Mm-hmm. Power of life.
She did this in 4 different churches, right? So this is what she basically did. And if you look at this one, look at the stained glass window.
Oh yeah.
You think
Same thing.
maybe they knew about this back then? Who can build at that level at these days and age?
Right.
Exactly.
Right. So anyway, guys, I told you it was a short presentation, but I just wanted to get some cool information out there for you guys. So what did you think?
Yeah, that was fascinating. I mean,
Amazing.
we typically don't do like slideshow presentations, it's a podcast, but in this case, I think what you're bringing to the table here is life-changing information for most people who aren't into this stuff. So I appreciate it. In fact, I encourage everyone to go back and watch part 1, but I found it absolutely fascinating. I'm not well versed on a lot of this stuff. Aaron probably is more than I am, but still the way you present it makes perfect sense to me. And I think it's self-evident once you can see it. Like once you see it, you can't unsee it, just like everything else.
Now, when you guys watch Knowing, you're going to be like, "Oh, that's those are the 4 fixed signs. Oh, that's the freaking angel. Oh, that's you see everything." They used to hide it. They used to have to hide it because they were scared. Guys, if we did this podcast 400 years ago, we would have been murdered.
Right. Well, that's where the secret societies come in, because it didn't start as a bad thing. They started as trying to preserve this esoteric knowledge and preserve all this stuff. And then it got, of course, infiltrated a long time ago, and then became this whole control system, right? Because now there's a power.
When something gets to when something gets too big, it will eventually always
Right.
go downhill.
You know what?
Right. And even in Judaism, you have the normal Jewish religion, but then you have the Kabbalah, which is like esoteric Judaism, and that's where they keep these secrets, and that's where the control, the whole control system there they're studying Kabbalah, and they know all this stuff, but they use it to control and enslave rather than, people aren't like
I
it creates a power differential. When you have all this
Yeah.
knowledge, you're now able to manipulate and control very easily when you have the masses that don't have this knowledge. It's
I
really that simple. It's a
I
power differential.
yeah, I appreciate what you brought to the table as far as your explanation on why it's all encoded. So, like,
Mhm.
to me, like, that's a big question for
Mhm.
okay, yeah, everything's encoded, but to what end? Why? Well, you actually provided an answer to that question.
Because they didn't want to be murdered.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, but that's not something that's a history we don't understand, so it takes a long explanation like what you just presented to really grasp that. But I appreciate that because now okay, so then you have to question the biblical figures, and were there actual people that represented these, astrological signs, like in the paintings? Were there actual people, or was this the people were just characters created to tell us a story?
But you know what's funny? What Christians will tell me, and I've had this because I've done a couple of Christian podcasts. What I'll see in the comments from people is, "Isn't it amazing how the Lord put the gospel in the stars before he actually lived it out on earth, as above, so below?" They will say shit like that. And I'll be like, if that's the case, then two questions. Number one, why do you make it so difficult that I have to uncover it the way that I do to plot it all out? Why do you have to make it so difficult? Why not leave it open? In Job 38:32, the first thing he says is after the Maseroth, he says, "Can you bind the chains to the Pleiades? Can you loosen Orion's belt?" Why not make them all like that? Why encode them so deeply? Right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know,
Exactly.
and this also
Two,
reminds
why would they tell you it's evil?
yeah,
Because if you knew this stuff, they couldn't control you and
Exactly.
enslave you.
right.
It's not they're not doing that for your own benefit. They're doing that for the benefit of their control.
Mhm.
And then, I think there are mass rituals going on. I mean, religion's proof of that, and like I think sporting events and all kinds of stuff. I think people's energies are being siphoned, literally, like you call it loose energy or whatever you want to call it. I think there are entities that feed off that energy, and I think there's this whole system that's been created as a energy harvesting system, and I think
It is.
that's why they need to hide this stuff from you and teach you all this false BS, so you
Right.
keep being a slave in that energy farm,
So you keep reincarnating, recycling, keep giving them
reincarnating. It
you're like a battery.
You're a battery, the
You're a
Matrix.
rechargeable battery to them.
Right,
My favorite part of
exactly.
this my favorite part of this whole thing is, uh, explaining that hell is actually winter, and because years ago, I actually had this epiphany, right, and that through meditation and because I never understood why, like, I really don't I can't stand winter or cold or freezing or anything, and, like, down at a soul level, like, it almost like the cold, harsh winters in the Midwest actually, like, activated this soul memory that, like, I was like, "This is hell." That's what the ice ages were. They were literally bringing hell to this planet, and I just have this deep understanding of it, and I've tried to explain it to people, and they kinda laugh it off, but you just finally came out and said it. I'm like, "Finally, somebody is saying what I'm feeling," and I couldn't agree more, and I nothing like, it's painful, like, when it to me, when it's hot, right? Like, yeah, of course, being burned is painful, but to me, when it's hot, you're miserable, but it doesn't hurt. When it's cold, you literally hurt, like, you can't go check your mail without your limbs and your extremities, like, and your ears hurt.
It
It literally feels like hell, and then,
it's
the whole term, "When hell freezes over," that's a whole inverted term as well. I'm like, "No, literally, hell, it is frozen over, that's what it is."
it's a lower vibration. I mean,
Yeah,
scientifically, what is heat? It's when everything vibrates faster is how you
right,
get heat. When it vibrates slower, that's where things are cold, but it's really the same thing, it's just the rate of vibration.
right.
So that means cold is a
Lower the molecules, the further it is. Absolutely right, yeah.
slower vibration, AKA a lower vibration. So that
Yes.
makes perfect sense, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And, Aaron, this also reminds me of the Thea Uber Prophecy book, which is I don't know if you ever read it. Micah, you might be interested. A guy was abducted and spent 9 days on another planet and comes back and writes a book. Take it with a grain of salt, but there's a lot of religious information that it kind of rewrites the religious history if you read that book, and especially Jesus. But in particular, what I found interesting was that the people that abducted him were hermaphrodites, and they had seemed to know this religious history of our planet, right? And well, not religious history, I guess a true history in their eyes, but um, with what you brought to the table today about them being hermaphrodites, and this book, this guy wrote The Theory of Prophecy, which I think is profound in a lot of ways. There's correlations there that make me question, like, okay, that material now, who were these beings that he actually encountered, and how did they play a role in our biblical history? So, our audience knows that book. We've done episodes on it, so I just thought it was an interesting correlation. But yeah, I don't know if there's anything else that you'd like to add, or Aaron, we could say something?
No, I just wanted to get out there. If you got anytime you guys ever want me to go anywhere to present this, I'm open for it because I think this is important information. I think that you guys, like I said, it is a little hard for me to like when I'm first talking to like a podcast host and I'm like, all right, but I have a presentation and they're like, can we just talk? And I go, it's not going to hit the same. You really need to visually see this too. This is not your everyday conversation. But I'm
Right.
willing to do that, and I think you guys are absolutely great, and thank you for having me back on. If anybody's interested, my website is debunkmywork.com. All my social media is there. There's a way to email me at the bottom of the page. My book series is there that goes into earlier when you were telling you all the things that I research, Gematria, etymology, numerology, astrology, all that stuff. All in there in the book series. You got to read it though in order, guys. You can't just pick one that you think looks cool or the book cover looks cool. You have to read them in order because it's a series. And well, like you know how they had to encode things, by the way, in paintings and things like that. I wrote a fiction series in order to get the truth out.
Yeah, which is genius, and some of the most profound information that I've come across is written in the form of fiction to get the information out, so it doesn't get buried or censored.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's what like the Da Vinci Code was, basically that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that got also all sorts of flack from Christians because they thought it was, like anti-Christian and trying to spread this false stuff, but really it was the stuff that they're kept away from that's the deeper, in the form of a fiction story. And there's all kinds of that stuff out
Right.
there if you have the eyes to see it. But you're basically revealing all this stuff that we're not supposed to know about. The powers that be don't want anyone to know about. But there's too many people awake now, and there's too much out there that they can't play whack-a-mole enough. They can't do enough censoring to stop the awakening, in my opinion.
Right.
So,
Right.
so this is all just a part of speeding that up, and getting this out there and having people wake up.
Yeah, absolutely. Fascinating stuff, and,
Yeah,
I've actually
amazing stuff, man.
thank you, and I've been using so Zoom has this AI companion feature now, and I've been turning it on, and what it does is it summarizes your whole conversation in great detail. It gives you an overall recap and then breaks bullet points the entire conversation and explanation. So I'll actually be really interested to see the way it breaks this one down, and I'll send you a copy. I'll email it to you. But
Yeah, I would love that.
yeah, it actually does a really good job of like like breaking down and explaining what we discussed, and really helping people understand what it was. So just an interesting thing I've been using. So anyway, thank you so much for joining us. Debunkmywork.com. That link will be below in the description.
All my social media, there's links on it, and all my book series is there. You guys could email me. You could reach out to me on social media. Please do so. I talk to everybody. So,
Yeah.
guys, thank you for having me on. Hopefully, I'll talk to you guys soon.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks so
And
much, man.
yeah, and just a reminder, guys, if there's a few spots left for Hawaii, if you want to join us, journeytotruth.online, grab your ticket today, and we will see you on the Big Island on April 20th. So, that being said, good night. We love you. Thank you for being here, Micah. This was amazing. Until next time, have a great evening. Good night. Hey guys, Journey to Truth is going to Hawaii. Join us in 2026 for Journey to Truth's first ever vacation conference on the Big Island at the beautiful Queen Emma Community Center in Kona. Enjoy Hawaii as we travel to sacred sites and connect with our Lemurian past and reactivate the land. It's time to get our bodies moving and take a boots-on-the-ground approach to the awakening. We'll also be making a trip to Volcano National Park to pay our respect to Pele, the goddess of fire. We'll then journey to the water for an ocean adventure with our multi-dimensional aquatic family. We'll gear up and head to the harbor as we set sail under the sun for an activating day on the water while we experience the Hawaiian ocean life like never before. Enjoy Hawaiian sunsets and walks on the beach while connecting with soul family and learning a few things from our amazing lineup of speakers. Aloha! Grab your ticket today at journeytotruth.online and join us for this once-in-a-lifetime activating getaway.